Thank you so much for inviting me to come and give a presentation on my perspective. I'll have you pass this around. It's just some short notes I wrote about my background and some things I'll touch upon. And pass this back. So again, my name is Margaret Kimosop and originally from Kenya, but I've lived here in the United States for, oh goodness, 18 plus years, so many years. So I love this country. It was my husband, and so it has become home. But I still have a lot of passion for Africa, for Kenya, where I grew up. And actually, I've just arrived back from Kenya about a week ago. So I've been there for 3 weeks to visit family and also to visit some of the work that we are doing, some projects that we are supporting. And so it was wonderful to be back there, but also wonderful to be back here in the United States. We've been talking back and forth with Chris about being able to come here to present today and give a perspective on African issues. And especially because we are talking about peace. And we know how peace it's wonderful, but it's such in short supply in so many countries of the world today. And especially in sub-Saharan Africa, the eastern part of Africa, where I come from, Kenya, and the neighboring countries, South Sudan, and Democratic Republic of Congo, and Burundi, and Rwanda. We read all the time of all the conflicts and the wars and all these things that are happening, and I'm sure it breaks our hearts, all of us, and we all ask, what can we do? How can we help promote peace and a really sustainable peace that is long-lasting? And so I thought, at least we can share the next 15 minutes some thoughts about what are the challenges and what are the opportunities to help create sustainable peace in those parts of the world. And before I kind of go to that, I want to just give a little background about myself. Again, as I said, I grew up in Kenya, went to high school and finished, and then I got an opportunity to go to international school in the United Kingdom. And this was part of some colleges called the United World Colleges from the paper I just passed to you. And these colleges, there are a group of 16 colleges around the world that bring young people, 16 to 19-year-olds, together to study together for 2 years in a community of unity, a community where young people learn together and play together. And the person who started this, the first college in the United Kingdom was called Katan, and his guiding principle was that, and he believed that education is a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and sustainable future. So he thought, let me bring young people together from around the world to live together, study together, and play together, but also help them grow and learn about peace so that when they go back to their communities, they can go and spread the word, about peace and how they can be able to live communities together. And so I was privileged to be there for 2 years, and I lived with students from over 70 different nationalities, and it was a real wonderful foundation for me because I was able to learn about other cultures. We had students from Asia and North America and Africa. It was just a wonderful foundation for me. And so when I finished and went back to Kenya briefly and then eventually came back to the United States, I still carried those ideals and those values of cooperation, international understanding, building peaceful communities. And so when I moved here, the first thing I did by of course living in Grand Rapids was I looked around and said, what can I do? What initiative or what impact can I bring in this community? And I knew that there was a growing African community, immigrants and refugees who are resettling in the Grand Rapids area, and I felt there's something that I can give. And so over the years, I've volunteered, I've worked with young people and mentoring programs in schools and churches. The church that we attend is called the African Community Church, and it reaches out to African refugees and immigrants in Grand Rapids area. And we're always trying to find out what can we do to help our fellow citizens once they come here. Obviously, that's the goal, to become citizens, to settle, to find a home here. What can we do to help so that these new people and these new Americans can feel at home? So over the years we've had programs for women support programs for youth. And it's tough when you come from a different country. You're in a different culture. Many of the especially the refugees, don't have the language skills. They have to learn a different language. And many times there's a lot of feeling of isolation among the communities, the immigrant communities or refugee communities. So we look and ask around, what can we do? How can we help? So 1 year, for about 2 years, we had a women support group of African women. And the challenging part, especially for women, is number one, they are women. Number two, if they don't have the language skills, then it's even hard for them to go out and find jobs. And if they have young children, then a lot of times they are isolated in their homes. They can't drive, they don't have the language skills, they can't really go out to work. And so for about 2 years, in the mid-2000s, we had a support group for African women, and we meet together, we have tea together, and we talk about issues that they are facing. And after a while, you see women brighten up and they'll be happy. And that's the joy that comes when you're making a difference. And just this year, January, I ended up getting a job with an organization called Samaritans, formerly Lutheran Social Services. I know some of you are probably Lutherans here, and you've had yes, you have one. And now it's called Samaritans, it's a different name. But Lutheran Social Services has so many different services, but one of the services it has is working with refugees, resettling refugees around the country, but also here in Michigan. And so one of the work that we do is, or our goal as an organization, is to help newly arrived refugees acclimatize, really again find home here in Grand Rapids, or if it's Muskegon or Lansing or Detroit. And so just going back a bit, like I said, a lot of the refugees that come from Africa have gone through a lot of trauma. We have countries like the country that we have resettled one of the countries that has the largest refugee population that we are resettling currently is the DRC Congo. I actually brought a map here, and I was going to show, I don't know, some of us, we know our geography. We know our geography, so that's the map of Africa. And the countries that I'm talking about are right on the Horn of Africa. And so that's where we call the Great Lakes region of Africa. And DRC Congo has especially had a very traumatic years of fighting, intense fighting, where the stories you hear, the stories that I hear every time I visit a home, the new families that are arriving, it's just so much trauma. Many of these refugees have fled their country, they've ended up in refugee camps, and many have lived in refugee camps for 20, 30 years. There's some children who have been born in refugee camps, they don't know their original homes. And it's just that the stories are very heartbreaking. And so the work we do is to bring hope to these families. But again, what we always urge the families or the communities that we work with is, yes, you are here safely in the United States, but what can you also do for your countries back where you came from? Can you be able to spread the word of peace? Yes, you have gone through trauma, you have gone through conflict, but now you can be a catalyst for change, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through the connections you still have with your community. How can you still bring impact to your communities? Once you're settled here, you're peaceful, but what about the people you have left back in your countries? So I just gave you some statistics there, and I'm not going through the DRC Congo, the Burundi, South Sudan. South Sudan has been another country that has faced a lot of issues with fighting. And just recently, there are about 3 years newly at independence, but now they are back into fighting and conflict. So those are the questions we ask the families and the communities as we work with refugees and immigrants. What can you do? What can change can you make? An impact can you make back in your home countries. And so for me, one of the things, and at the back, I just given a glimpse of what we are doing. Like I said, I just came back from Africa, from Kenya. One of the things we are doing is building farm programs, what I call farming for peace. We are trying to empower communities to build peaceful communities by empowering the rural communities, rural farmers, to become stronger economically, so that when they are stronger economically, they can also be able to bring sustainable peace. Because we know that a lot of fighting is because people are fighting over resources, the minimal resources that are there. But if people are able to become stronger economically, they have incomes, living standards are becoming better, then people are able to hire, not just fighting over the land or water or this resource. So what we are doing, we've started a program called Farming for Peace, and we are empowering dairy farmers, small-scale dairy farmers, to make a change in their communities. And we are hoping that that will be a trickle effect in the community. So there's so many things. You have the papers, so you can read a little more about what we are doing. But otherwise, I thank you so much for having this opportunity to share a little bit. There's so much. We actually need a lot of time to really share a lot of what we are doing. But I hope that little glimpse is going to help to bring up abundant understanding. Thank you so much.